Right, we're all set up to do something not very fun. We are replacing some bolts on the Quonset Hut roof that were over tightened at the time of installation due to me. I told Eric to really suck them down, and we found out later that that's not what you're supposed to do because that little washer gets squished too much and you can have some leaking. So we noticed in the summer last year when it was really, really heavy rain, it was like flooding out the top, and you'd see maybe like a couple dozen spots were leaking. So we're trying to correct that before the spray foam. Holy smoke. We got water!
Okay, I see it. Hold on, we got one that's leaking. Oh, hopefully that thing doesn't take off on us. That's our livelihood right there. All our junk.
We are back out working on the Quonset Hut today, and I know we have said that many times before. This project has definitely taken us a lot longer than we originally anticipated. At first, we were like, oh, we're gonna keep track of it and have phase 1, phase 2. That's all up in the air, that's behind us. The good news is that we have our spray foam appointment scheduled, which is a huge deal. The gentleman that's doing it is coming in about 5 days, so that gives us a little bit of working time, and we have hopes to get the siding done on the front of this building. We'll see if that happens. We had to do the very unfun task of cleaning out the entire building. We have all our stuff organized, protected out of the rain on the side of the building, and we're gonna jump right in and try to get some work done today.
Well, here we go. Big stack of 1x6 rough cut sawmill lumber. We milled this in the spring. We actually tried to plane all this siding and get our siding all done in the spring, but it didn't work because the wood was wet.
Running into more problems out here, and it is not the mosquitoes. And we've made the choice to stop for the day because we figured out it is actually wet wood that is making it so we're not getting smooth pieces.
I had this pile sitting out in the sun, drying up. It's nice and dry now. I had a huge block of concrete on here to hope to keep things relatively straight. I'm thinking it did a pretty good job. We're gonna find out pretty soon. We're going for homemade shiplap siding. It's gonna be beautiful if we can get it done. The goal for today is to get these all run through the planer. There's a lot of them. Get them smoothed out. Let's see what we can do. Mark, Jenny.
About 5 minutes into this, and it's not going as planned already. So the planer's not like pulling through the wood, which is weird. We weren't having that problem last time.
Right here, and you gotta clean one side and then spin it.
Whoa.
I don't know, we'll see if that works. I hope it does. And then it says you can wax. This is called the bed, where the metal part is that it slides on. You can wax it with paraffin wax. I know we have paraffin wax, but no idea where it is. So I'm gonna try to just clean it, maybe spray some WD-40 on there and see if that does anything.
making a pretty good dent on the siding, and it is like eye candy. It's so beautiful. I saved a few little boards to show you. This one has like really smooth grain. I think that's what you'd call it. So it's really like straight, but I honestly really like the ones with a lot more character. I don't know if they're knots or just like branches, but you can see this one has a really good example. It's almost like multicolored, really, really pretty. It's gonna look fantastic as siding. We also are getting a lot of planer shavings, which virtually replace the ones that we were buying for the chickens to clean out their coop so much in the winter.
Well, there we go, just like that. Not really, that was actually pretty difficult to do, and I had my doubts in this rigid planer. The last time that we went to use this, which was the first time we've ever used a planer at all, it wasn't doing a very good job. You know, we figured out that it was the wet wood, but today when we first started, it was ripping through these, and as long as we kept the little rollers in there that pull the piece of wood through, if we kept those clean, if we kept the little deck, or I think they call it the bed, if we kept that clean and made sure we had some sharp blades, I think we went through, they call them knives, we went through a set and a half of knives, which isn't too bad. We put this thing through its paces today. This is a pretty big job. And the last thing that I was doing to kind of make sure that it was clean when it was sucking the boards through is every time I'd run a board through, or right before, I'd hit it with the air compressor, clean it off. And I think another mistake we were making last time we were using this thing is we were trying to take off too much material at once. So a lot of these boards that we just did, we'd have to run them through like 2 or 3 times. Some of them we even did 4 times if they were a little too thick. All of this lumber came off the sawmill, so it's not absolutely perfect, but now they are all exactly the same width, and we are at 3/4 of an inch on every single one of these pieces. It's time to turn them into shiplap. We've got some rain right now, but it looks like it's probably gonna pass. We're gonna see if we can get like a little jig of some sort set up. We've also never really used a router, so let's see how this goes.
So I don't have to hold it for you. What if we put a stopper?
That's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah, you need one here too.
We got one. We gotta figure out where to put them. See that nice notch? And then we gotta grab another one and let's see if it fits in there. I'm just making sure this way, like I'm cutting deep enough.
I think it's gonna work. I think it's gonna be like cookie cutter. We're gonna have to face each one and really nail it.
You can actually bend this. Make that fit, I bet. Top of that. Look at that. Look how good that looks.
That's why I was saying if you do a little gap, it will actually, in my opinion,
Well, we can decide that when we.
it'll more like be a magic trick. Wow.
Those are nice. Well, I think this just might work. So we've got 4 boards done. I thought the planing took a long time. This is gonna take even longer. This is our router, and we got this one because I like Bosch, and this one was on sale for a pretty good deal. And that's one of the bits that are in there. The bits, they aren't really a good deal. These are $30 each. I bought 3 of them. I'm hoping that 3 will take us through this whole project. That one doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. It's still really sharp. And this is there's so many different measurements on here. We got 1/2 inch, 1 3/8, and 1/4 inch. So there's a bunch of different ones on there. This is a cabinetry joiner. It's for hardwoods, softwoods, and I think it's like right here. It's a rabbiting bit. So we're creating notches in this wood, and we're doing that so when it rains or anything like that, it's gonna kind of overlap the next piece and it'll kind of come down your building. And all we have here is a 2x4 that we screwed in to the deck over. Luckily, we're not punching that deep into this wood, so this router is just able to buzz right across the top without hitting the deck over. You gotta hit one side, you flip it, you hit the other side, that piece is done. It is, I believe, here's what the measurements are. I believe from there, that center, to there is 1/2 inch. So it's cutting in 1/2 inch, and then you can put this as deep as you want it. You can cut down like super deep. I think they're saying that thing's 1/4 inch. So we're cutting into 1/2 inch. Yeah, let's get some more done. It's not too bad. It's super dusty though.
That, my friends, is wild strawberry spinach, and it is just as delicious as the stuff coming out of the garden. Oh, my goodness. Delicious. Good morning or good afternoon, since it's about that time. Eric's grabbing a snack. He has been working very hard on getting the rabbits done pretty much nonstop all yesterday, and then he got back at it today. I am working on putting our finish on the siding, and we were a little selective because we didn't want to go too dark for this. The building is silver, and we just felt like a kind of honoring the spruce wood. It's a little more pale. It turns a little golden in the sun. We kind of wanted to just not stray too far away from its original color. We went with a very, very light finish is what it's called. It's a log oil. We like oil-based sealers. I just feel like they penetrate into the wood really well, and they make it very durable. Definitely going to be waterproof or water resistant, and it looks absolutely fantastic. When you're doing your own siding like this, it's neat to get your hands on each piece of wood, especially if you appreciate the grain and the texture and all that. Wood's very beautiful, and I know doing your own siding probably sounds glamorous, but I assure you it is not. There is no glamour in it at all. And I know when we first set out to do this, we knew that it was going to be a very time-consuming project. From cutting down the trees or the lumber and then processing that, in our case, we didn't actually have to cut the trees down, so they were transported to us, and we did all the work from there. It's gonna look killer when we're done, I know it. This is what we're using if you're interested. Paraffin. Okay, gotta get back to work. Whew.
Well, we're done routing, and that was a lot of boards to do. It took about 7 hours, I'm estimating, to do all these boards. Not sure how many there were, but the rain came in, and it rained all over stuff, and the stain isn't working very well when these boards are wet. Luckily, the sun just came back out, so we're kind of letting things dry out a little bit, and then we're going to continue on slapping on the stain.
But you know what I think, more than anything, is that it turns out so nice that it definitely makes you want to do it.
Yeah, it's
Because it's so beautiful.
I'm telling you right now, that shop with those lights that are in the bronze and that metal,
Your accent lights?
I think you're going to be blown away at how good this is actually going to look. You didn't think this one was the best looking one?
No, I was thinking that this one was particularly nice too. They're all really nice. I really have an affinity for wood. It's a lot of siding.
Siding's looking good. We counted them last night. Well, we counted most of them. We got about 90 pieces of siding that we made. It's gone from a tree to rough cut lumber to what it looks like right now, which is beautiful stained shiplap. I think we are gonna do a very light second coat of that paraffin stain, or is it oil? Paraffin?
Yeah, it's oil.
We're gonna do a little second coat, but we're gonna do that once it's up. It should be pretty easy to do. We are doing something kind of cool. Let me show you what we're gonna be doing on kind of like the bottom section right here. Check it out. That's what it's gonna look like. How's that look? So we decided that we were gonna do some metal siding on the bottom 3 feet of this building. This is called Galvalume is the color, and we got this one because it matches the Quonset Hut so well. Yeah, pretty close, right? And we went with our favorite metal roofing place, Seamless Supply. They're in North Pole. We love going there. And it's gonna go in here. They like hooked us up with all kinds of custom stuff. So we've got L channels, we've got J channels, we've got Z channels, we've got angles, we've got everything. And they cut all this metal for us. It's super cool to go to a place like that instead of going to like a big box store like Home Depot, because not only is it cheaper from them, but they put it aside for you. They have it all waiting for you. You go there, they throw it on your trailer, and you leave. So it's pretty awesome. We've got a few things to get buttoned up before we get started on putting up the siding. A little bit of paint, a little bit of stain. Let's get it done.
How do you want to get it level?
Just need to get it right along the bottom.
The bottom?
Yeah.
Flush with the bottom or no?
Yeah, like flush at the bottom is where we want it to go to. I'm not gonna do it in the corner yet because I think we're gonna go over this, but we might go under with one. Perfect. Okay. Moment of truth.
Nice.
Almost there. If I tap that a little, I have a perfect corner. Right? Yeah, let's get a 2-inch out of there.
So maybe the goal for today would be metal.
That was always the goal.
I thought we were going to be slapping siding up.
That's funny.
Probably not at 1 p.m.
No, it takes a long time to get this metal stuff up. They put this little lip on there so you don't have a sharp edge, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we
They
actually
fold it.
do that.
It's really nice, yeah.
So Eric's custom fitting the inner corner of where the frame for the shop door. And there is a little lip on, or a fold, we'll call it a fold, on the edge of the metal, and that's a custom thing. They ask you that if you want it like sharp or flat, the edge of the metal, or if you want them to fold it a certain way. And so we chose that, and now he's like spreading it apart a little bit and then using it to create like a really nice seal and edge for the metal. Everything is just flashing, you know, to help us basically keep water away from the building. That place is super awesome. We went in, we were there for a while talking to one of the gals, and they like just custom did all this stuff for us. We don't know anything about the metal. So yeah, it's turned out really nice, and I think the metal, which was Eric's idea, is really going to tie in the whole building, you know, being the Quonset Hut and being that we're using some wood on it as well.
Looks pretty good. How are you looking down there?
It's perfect. We have like a little edge on our concrete, you know what I mean? It's absolutely perfect.
The garage door is a little bit different than the man door, but it's kind of the same. So we put the L's on the inside, since that framing around the garage door, the 12x12 door, that's gonna be exposed. So now we have like half of it covered with this nice metal, and then we're putting the same J channel on it that we did on the door. This one's actually 2 inches, the other one was 1.5 inches, so this one's a little bit bigger. It's kind of tricky to get these lined, but if you can imagine, you gotta take these two pieces, which obviously don't fit together at all. And you got to get them to fit together. So what I do is I use this little cutoff piece that we're not going to use anymore, and I kind of figure out on here how it's going to look and how it's going to work, and I'll make my measurements off of that. Right here. Cut that out. Have a little flap that comes down.
Okay.
So let's put this one up there, then we'll take our measurement and we'll cut the other one.
This is a 12-foot section behind me. We fit 4 of the panels, and Eric did the screws on the bottom at 3 inches and the one on the top just down 1 inch because we have a little edge that's gonna cover it up. So he wanted to do it that way. And there's a screw, we're calling it a stitch screw, but it's not, but it's holding together the overlapping parts of the panels. It looks actually really cool when you get back pretty far. Probably gonna be level. There you go. What in the heck? That's beautiful. Come on, bud. Isn't that a paint stripper? That's what happens. See what it's giving us. That's the most level one we got. Well, we got the metal up and it went together pretty good. Like I said, we're new to this type of trim and things like that, so it took us all day. Anyways, some of the screws we got, which are pretty unique, are these screws. They're like a T25 bit head, and they're not like your standard metal roofing screw, which has like a nut on the top. These ones are actually meant for like stuff like this. Let's say you're walking by it and you brush against it. It's not gonna snag on you or whatever, and they just look really good. Honestly, this building would look cool with just metal on the whole thing, but I'm really glad we did the 3 foot, and it's gonna go something like this. So you've got this little gap in here, and basically what you're gonna do every time you put on a, oh, dang it. And basically what you're gonna do every time you set up a new piece of trim is you're gonna slide it all the way in like that. And the next step is putting up our siding, and we'll see how it goes. We've done siding on the old cabin, but that was siding that we bought from the store, so it was absolutely like perfect. And we used like a jig to get it up. This might get a little tricky, but the good thing is we're only doing the front of the shop right now. We have plans to build a seed room off the back of the shop later this year, and we'll do the siding on that when we get there. But we're gonna get some rest and we'll see what happens. It's hard to imagine the whole thing done. Okay, day 5 of this project. We didn't work on it yesterday, but we did manage to get the second application on the boards, and they look pretty cool. I think they've darkened up. The squirrel's a little unhappy with our presence out here. Let's show you what it looks like. So yeah, it goes like that. And typically you would put furring strips behind the siding that you're doing, and that's just to displace the wood. It allows for airflow, and it also basically, the purpose is if you get water behind there, it allows the water to flow down freely without being like smashed up against the wall and the wood. Now that I just explained it to you, we're not actually doing those, and that's because we do not have the clearance for it. So we have a very specific, the trim for the actual Quonset hut, and we cannot like move the building at all or anything like that. So we only have an inch, and with the board being 3/4 of an inch, it really just doesn't leave us like any extra space. You could see if you were to look in there. We're not that concerned about it. Alaska is a super dry climate, so that's one of the benefits to living here containers, we don't actually have to worry too much about water damage.
Getting things prepped this morning, and we're gonna do something that I saw a guy do, and we're gonna be, I guess it's called face nailing this siding up, so the nails are gonna be exposed. And to prevent like nail bleed or seeing the silver nail, we're gonna paint the nail heads. We're gonna hit them with a little bit of mineral spirits to clean them, and then we're gonna paint them. I got this paint, it's called 𝐒𝐢𝐻𝐸. Should match pretty well. We'll see what it looks like. As far as nails, we're using some different nails for this project. We bought ourselves a finishing nailer, so these are a little bit of a smaller nail. These ones happen to be a 15 gauge, and they are an angled nail. We're using 1 3/4 inch long.
Eric is grabbing our laser level. He wants to kind of make sure that basically the siding is going to be completely straight across the whole building. So since we have these 2 sections and then there's that 12-foot section over there, you know, honestly, this is definitely tricky. I think it's going to be a slow but painful process. I don't know if you caught this, but we are using nickels. We're nickel gapping. So we're putting little spaces in between each board. The idea behind that, for us at least, I believe it's just an aesthetic thing, is that our boards are not perfect to begin with. So I feel like if we create a little gap, there's less likelihood that you're gonna be able to like see differences, because there's just no way we're gonna get them all straight and perfectly, I guess with like the gap the same throughout that whole panel or piece of siding. So I think it's a good like magic trick. We'll see if it works, but pretty cool. Hey Eric, you sure this is the right measurement? It's just super tight, so it is.
Yeah. Well, we're getting it up. We picked the hottest day. It is going to be blistering out here. I think it's not even noon and we're already sweating. The original plan to keep these all completely level was to use the laser level, but it's so bright out here. The house strap is this bright white. It's just not working. So it wasn't showing up at all. So what we had to do was we started on this right-hand side, the long ones, and we kind of just measured to the top of the first board, and we made sure it was level, and then we just measured these other ones. We're pretty good. I think the biggest discrepancy between all of these is maybe like within 1/8 of an inch, and I think that's going to be all right. Where that's going to be a problem if it's not all right is by the time we get to like the top of our door, and we have to start connecting these boards to these boards, or when we get on top of the garage door and we connect these ones kind of to those ones, and we need them all to line up. The nails are working good. The nailer's working awesome. It's really cool that we're able to just kind of shove the ends of these boards in here. If we would have had trim, we would have had to have them exactly perfect, but this hides them a lot. We're getting to the point where we're getting up there, so we're probably gonna have to grab a ladder, finish these off, finish that side off, and then once we get really high, I don't know, we'll see what we do when we get up there.
So 15 gauge finishing nailer works pretty good for the siding. On the next one.
you think? Pull it off?
Yeah. You got wires in there though. It's kind of fun. Lot more Wow.
Pretty, huh?
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
It's been a few days since we chatted and a lot has happened. The folks have come and spray foamed. Eric and I did get the siding completely finished on the front of the building. That had to happen after they were here since we couldn't get it done before. And we ran into quite a few issues with paint that we're gonna cover later. But the spray foam is completely done at this point. They did an amazing job. We are really happy with it.
Super excited on the spray foam. I've been looking forward to this point for a long time. This is a big deal. So we had done 3 inches throughout of closed cell spray foam, and it's actually like 3 inches minimum. There's some spots in there you can tell they're a lot thicker than 3 inches, which is always nice. And spray foam, if you're not familiar with it, it is an R value of between 7 and 8 per inch, and we have 3 inches, so we're between R21 and 24. But not only do you get the R value with spray foam, you also get kind of like a sealed building at the end.
There's really nothing that compares to it for how it seals our corrugation. What would you call it? Those little like bumps between the arches, right?
Yeah, cracks, drafts, anything like that compared to batt insulation or fiberglass insulation you put in a wall. There's just no comparison between the two.
We knew right from the start that we were gonna go with spray foam. Unfortunately, we kind of like thought it was something we could do DIY. We're big DIY fans, but the startup cost of like the rig, there's an actual rig you have to have for doing the spray foam. It's a lot of equipment, and there's like 2 chemicals, A and B, you mix them. It was just like out of the question for us to do by ourselves, and also the experience. So we chose to hire out for that part of the building.
Kind of a cool little fact, it took 25,000 watts of power to power that spray foam rig, and the spray foam, along with having some friends come help us with the concrete, I believe those are going to be the 2 only things that we need help with on this whole thing.
And they also happen to be some of the more expensive parts of the building. So the spray foam, the concrete, they weren't as expensive as the actual building was, but they were definitely a hefty chunk in the entire cost of everything. We mentioned some bolts earlier that were possibly leaking.
And we did find just a few. We only replaced 4 bolts, and it's because the little rubber washer wasn't seated absolutely perfect in there, which for a 7,000 bolt building, that wasn't too bad.
Yeah, and I think that maybe the buildings had time to kind of settle, so that was definitely not a big issue. The siding was really challenging. It was very, very tricky to kind of like custom fit each, or I don't know how to really describe it. What would you say?
We had to muscle each piece to get to fit absolutely perfect. That way the next piece and all the way up to the top would fit good.
Yeah, this shiplap really interlocks, and that's kind of the whole thing with it, is when the wood shrinks and swells, it still provides that seal. So when we first were looking at doing siding, I don't even know what you would call it, but we were just looking at just doing like what, flat boards?
Just stacking boards up.
And this is way superior. That and tongue and groove, we found that right away. I'm stoked with it. It looks awesome. The nickel gapping worked perfect. It's really like the difference between like some of them have bigger gaps and smaller gaps. It's really discreet. You can't even tell even when you're close up. And the finish nailer did awesome. That was our first time using that. There's not really like a nail head, so you really can't even see. Can you see the marks? I feel like I can't see the marks.
Well, I can't see very good to begin with, but I can't see anything. It looks awesome. Couldn't be happier with the style of siding we went with. I really like the metal underneath. It matches really well. And then the color, which is a clear, right? Penafin clear.
Yeah, we went with a clear log oil.
So we wanted to bring out the natural color of the wood. It looks beautiful.
The goal today is big. We have to get the entire building on the inside painted twice.
we finally got everything we need to finally start painting, and we've got some more work to do in there. So Arielle's gonna get on the sprayer. She's gonna paint, and I'm gonna do some more taping off and stuff.
I got my outfit on.
I gotta go grab the new tip for that gun.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna have to kind of clean all that stuff out of there first, the winter stuff. Where are you starting? Taking off that room.
Okay.
So by the time you get there, you'll be good. And then when you're done with that, I'll finish this wall. I think after that ride in the truck yesterday on that bumpy road, this doesn't have to be stirred.
It's acrylic or latex, so you can put water in it.
Yeah, no.
Usually you do actually, because it's really thick.
Okay, well, let's see what kind of.
That is such a bright one.
So you want to start on medium, right in the middle between low and high.
Whoa. Right. Look at that. All right, we're getting there. We are on our 4th bucket of paint, 5-gallon bucket, so 20 gallons is what we're working on. And we only have 6 of these. Maybe that wasn't a good decision on our end. What happened with the paint is a little bit of a long story, but we didn't think this was gonna be such a big thing. We planned out so much of this project ahead of time and bought in supplies for months ahead. We were thinking we could do what is like known as a fireproof or a fire safe paint. Turns out that was really hard to get our hands on, and even if we could get our hands on it, you need a special commercial sprayer to do it. So you need this big old bad sprayer, and we could not figure out a way to get that either. Of course, it's an option to come have someone spray, but we didn't want to do that. So we researched another type of paint. It's called elastomeric paint, and it's typically sprayed like roofers will spray it over spray foam, roofing paint, really durable UV protection. We went and bought that from Fairbanks and came home and found out that that is also something that you need a special sprayer for. They're really thick, like tacky paints, and our little airless sprayer is just not capable of doing those types of paint. So we had to go back to Fairbanks, even though we just drove there. And we only picked up 6 gallons of this paint that we're hoping is enough. It's exterior paint. We've used it before in our house, and I think it does a phenomenal job. Technically, it's like our last option. We need exterior paint because of the UV protection and also the durability. We want it to be tough. It's a shop, right? We want to be able to clean it and have it just be like a little tougher. It does have a little sheen to it. It's satin, and it is ultra pure white from the Bear line. So it has no color whatsoever added to it. It's their pure white. Thought that would be really cool to kind of like brighten things up in there. It's a little hard to see right now because we can't have all of the doors open. I'm hoping we can get this big overhead door open soon, and Eric will be able to see a lot better for spraying up top. When you're spraying paint, the 2 downsides is that you do need a little extra paint because there's always some extra for that motor to kind of pull it out, not the motor, but the pump to pull it out of the bucket. And there's also overspray, which is just horrible. But yeah, I'm just really hoping we got enough paint because otherwise we're gonna have to return back to Fairbanks, and we're kind of in a little bit of a crunch right now to get this done and get all of our stuff back in the shop. I think it's gonna be enough. Sure, it's not enough for like a second coat, but we don't need a second coat, I don't think.
easy job of it. Yeah, my eyes, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you gotta the glasses on.
Well, we are getting there, folks. Don't use a paint sprayer if you don't want overspray. So the way we kind of worked this out with the spray foam guys is I told them we were gonna paint right after. So I said, if there's anything that you taped off or you put plastic down that you're just gonna like take and throw away, just leave it. And it was pretty much everything we needed. So everything was almost all the way kind of ready for our paint, but I'm getting quite a bit of overspray on myself. And also, our building is, so if you're looking at just the pad, it's about 2,400 square feet. But the actual building, the amount that we're painting, and that's including the Quonset hut that kind of has these like little ribs, so there's more square footage. We're painting 5,040 square feet, which is a lot to do in one day. We got enough paint going off of the minimum that the paint said it could do to do like over 7,000 square feet, but we are cutting it extremely close. I guess we're doing a pretty thick coat in here. And one of the main reasons you want to paint this stuff right away is spray foam left unpainted or uncoated can get UV damage, so it can start to break it down. It can turn it like a real nasty yellow color. The foam on this batch that they did, it was like a light yellow color, which is nice for this bright white or ultra white, I think it's called, paint that we're putting on there. It is kind of hard to get it absolutely perfect. So it's not like painting a wall. It has like little texture and like bubbles and types of things. So sometimes you'll hit it and you'll hit it again, it won't do anything. So you got to come from a different angle and get it. We've gotten almost this whole thing done. The side walls we did really good. We did pretty much 2 coats on those, and then everything else so far has a really thick single coat. The only section I have to do is right here up in this ridge. I got to go pretty much the whole way. That should be pretty easy to get. And I have about 8 gallons of paint left. I think it's going to be plenty for the shop. Spray foam, it's just one of those things where it's not really meant to be like your finished product. So if you look at it, I mean, I think it looks really nice with the white paint, but it's kind of like, it's spray foam. It's meant to go like in a house and have like drywall or wood or something put up. But since this is a shop and it's so big, we're gonna leave it exposed. It's looking great out here. I'm really happy with the bright white. It's already just lightening it up in here. We don't have any lights, so next couple hours, I think we can get it done. This is where it gets tricky in here.
Is that just cleaning it out? Oh, that's how you put all the paint back in it? Okay, we're all done for the day with like 2 gallons to spare.
This portion of the build is coming to an end. Although we have a lot more work to do out here, I think we've been out here for like close to a week since we just started that siding. Today should be the last day. We went through here last night and we managed to get all the plastic ripped up, cleaned up. We swept. We had to go along the corners, or I guess the edges of the foam, kind of down in here, and we cut along the foam because the plastic, we had to get the plastic out, and we're gonna come through with a paintbrush later on, and we're gonna touch that all up with some white paint. One of the last things we wanna do today is we wanna get our lights mounted out front. So check it out. This is going to be one of our lights. It actually goes like this. We're gonna mount this one above the main door. Unfortunately, the electrical isn't done in the shop, so we're not gonna be able to hook these up and have light yet, but we can get them wired in up there and we can get them mounted. So this one is a motion. It's a like light sensitive one. You can do a few different things with it. We went with this nice dark color. All of the lights that we're gonna be putting up are about this color. So this one, we're gonna put in this junction box and we're gonna wire it in, like I said, and we'll mount it. Let's see how she looks. That looks straight. Very nice lights. Check these out, guys. These are going to be accent lights. So we've got one that's going to go on each side of the door, and on the top they've got like this little clear plastic piece. You can take that off and you can change your light bulb. On the bottom it's just open, so it sits like this. You'll have light that kind of shines up, you'll have light that shines down. It's also going to kind of mark where the door is, like if you want to back in at night. This one went on pretty easy. All the wires are just in the little box behind it on the light. Let's get the other side on. Last but not least, we're going to be putting in, I guess this would be called a floodlight. So it's going to look kind of like that. It's going to go above the big garage door. And this is a big, heavy light. It's pretty cool. It's the same color as the other ones. And this one is kind of customizable, which is pretty neat. So you can do different colors, 3000, K, 4000, and 5000. I think most of our lights are the 4000, so we're going to leave it on there for now. And then you can do different powers. So you can do 120 watts is the brightest, 100 watts, and 80 watts. Let's leave it cranked up for now. This one's pretty easy to install. The wires, I believe they just run on the back, and that's what these little, these bumps are for. They kind of raise it up, could be wrong. And then we're gonna stick it in there. I gotta drill a couple holes to mount it. And then the light, like you just saw me take off, it kind of goes on. It flips in, so if you ever wanna change these, it's super easy. You just flip it out, change it. Oh, look at that, it's even got a little level in there.
Whoa.
Just show if it's level, right there. All right, so I got to drill out a couple holes. Maybe we'll do 3 holes to mount it.
A nickel.
Isn't that cool? It's got little hinges.
I wish all the lights were like that.
Do whatever you do. A little sensor on top so it'll turn on. If you just leave the switch on, you can have it so it'll turn on when it gets dark.
Oh.
And then once it gets light, it shuts off.
Cool.
Well, that's it, guys. It looks awesome. Let's step back and take a look at the finished product.
So there is a notable echo in this Quonset Hut building, and we are going to conduct a pre-spray foam test. Hello! What are you gonna say? Echo! Echo! Alaska! That's loud.
Yeah.
That's scary. We're conducting the second part of our echo test. The building has been spray foamed completely.
Echo!
Sasquatch!
Echo! It is less. Echo! Still echoes. Not as bad, but it still echoes.
Yay!
Did you show the brain?
So I was literally just having a conversation with Eric, and he was like, there's something important I have to go do, I forgot. And looked out to try to find him, and he's out there feeding the chickens treats. Says a lot about Eric.
Come on. Come on, get up here. You gotta work for it. Okay, you wanna see a fiasco?